Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a really foundational standard for accreditation from URAC. We're talking about RM1-1, which is basically the bedrock for how your organization should be managing regulatory compliance. Let's break it down and make it super clear.
So let's kick things off with a big question. This standard really forces you to ask yourself. It's not just about having a compliance program, it's about whether that program is genuinely effective and, crucially, if it's ready for some serious scrutiny.
Here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the complex problem this standard is trying to solve. Then, we'll get into URAC's blueprint for a solution, break down the 4 key actions you have to take, and finally, cover how you prove you're doing it all.
All right, first things first, let's set the stage a little. Why does a standard like this even need to exist? Well, it's because every single organization out there is operating in what can feel like a maze of rules.
I mean, just think about it. The laws and regulations in one state can be totally different from the next, and they're always changing. Trying to keep up with everything everywhere you do business, that is a massive undertaking, and that is the core challenge we're talking about. So how in the world do you navigate that maze without getting completely lost? Well, that's where URAC comes in with a kind of blueprint. And that blueprint is standard RM11. It's all about giving you a solid, reliable structure. You know, at its heart, the standard sounds pretty simple, right? It says your organization needs to actively promote and maintain compliance. But those key words are everything. Actively promote and maintain. This isn't a one-time check-the-box exercise. It's about building a living, breathing process, a real culture of compliance.
Okay, so let's get practical. How do you actually do that? What does it look like in the real world? Thankfully, the standard gives us a really clear, actionable framework, and it's built on 4 key pillars.
Think of these as the 4 legs of the table. You need all of them for your compliance program to be stable and strong. You've got to track the rules, audit your actions, respond to issues, and have a leader. Let's take a look at each one.
So pillar number 1 is tracking. It sounds basic, but it is absolutely foundational. You have to have some kind of formal system to identify and keep an eye on all the relevant laws and regulations in every single place you operate. I mean, you can't comply with a rule you don't even know exists, right? Next up, pillar 2, auditing. It's not enough to just know the rules. You have to regularly look in the mirror and ask, are we actually doing what we're supposed to be doing? This internal check is so critical because it's how you find potential problems before someone else does.
And that brings us to pillar 3. What happens when you do find a problem? Well, a mature program has a formal process for responding, and it's not just about putting out the fire. It's about taking corrective action and then, this is the important part, figuring out how to prevent that same spark from ever catching again.
And the 4th and final pillar that really holds this whole structure together is leadership. Someone has to own this. The standard is very clear. You have to officially name a compliance officer who oversees the whole program. It just makes sense. Without clear ownership, even the best plans can fall through the cracks. This creates that single point of accountability.
Now here's something that's actually really interesting. URAC gives you some flexibility here. Your compliance officer doesn't have to be a person in a full-time, standalone role. Those responsibilities can be formally built into someone's existing job. The key thing for URAC isn't the job title. It's that the responsibilities are clearly defined, written down, and assigned to a specific person.
Okay, so you've built your program on these 4 pillars. Your system is up and running. Great. But how do you prove it to URAC? Well, it all comes down to the documents you submit for what they call the desktop review. And check this out. This table really lays it all out. It's all about show, don't just tell. For each of those pillars, there's a specific piece of evidence you need to provide. You need to submit a document that describes your process, sure, but you also need to show proof, like a screenshot of your tracking system, a report from a recent audit, and the official job description for your compliance officer. So you've put together all your documents. You've submitted them for the desktop review. What happens next? This brings us to the final phase. Now, for a lot of standards, this would involve something like an on-site visit, but RM11 is a little different.
And you really need to hear this. This is probably the most important takeaway. For this specific standard, RM1-1, your compliance is determined entirely based on the documents you submitted. That's it. There is no separate interview or on-site check. Your success or failure on the standard hinges completely on the quality of your paperwork.
So what does that mean for you? It means your documentation is your compliance story. It's not just busy work. It's the full narrative that has to prove your program is real, it's functional, and it's effective. It has to stand on its own and tell that story for you.
So I'll leave you with this question. Is your documentation ready to tell your compliance story? Don't just think of it as an administrative task. Think of it as crafting the official story of your commitment to doing things right. Is that story clear, complete, and compelling? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.